Your Miranda rights are powerful enough to get you off a murder rap. But just because the cops don't read you your Miranda rights when they arrest you doesn't mean your case is going to get dismissed. In fact, your Miranda rights don't really have anything to do with your arrest. In this video, I explain what I mean by that. And I also explain how and when your Miranda rights can help you. Hello folks, I'm Andrew Williams and this is another edition of the Fedora Lawyer. I'm a board-certified criminal defense attorney with 28 years of trial practice behind me. On this channel, I share my years of experience with you to give you a better understanding of the law. One of my first cases years ago as a new lawyer was representing a guy charged with murder. And he confessed to the crime, but because the cops who took down his confession did not properly advise him of his Miranda rights, the judge would not allow his confession to be heard before the jury. So they had to dismiss the case and he walked away a free man. That's how powerful your Miranda rights are. However, that being said, not getting your rights read to you won't help you in every situation. And the reason is Miranda warnings are related to an interrogation and not to an arrest. And that's what most people really don't understand. You might think that just because you didn't get your rights read to you, that your case ought to get dismissed. Miranda only applies when cops are conducting an interrogation. They have to read you your rights before they question you. And in order for Miranda to apply, their questions have to be things like, where'd you hide the drugs? What'd you do with the weapon? Where'd you put the stolen money? These types of questions are the ones that require you to admit wrongdoing. So they have to give you your Miranda rights before they can ask you these types of questions. But also remember, they don't need to read you your rights just to ask you general information like your name and address, innocuous things like that. So if there's an interrogation, they have to read you your Miranda rights before they can start questioning you. On the other hand, if you're arrested and there's no interrogation, which means the cops don't ask you any questions, then claiming you didn't get your Miranda rights read to you won't help you much. And the reason is because the cops didn't ask you any questions in the first place. Miranda is designed to keep the cops from asking you questions that could harm you later on in court. So when the cops question you without first giving you your Miranda warnings, whatever you say in response to those questions could never be used against you. So if there's a trial, the jury would never know the cops asked you any questions, let alone what the answers were. If the cops don't ask you any questions and you don't say anything, then you haven't made any statements that need to be protected. So in that case, you haven't been harmed if the cops didn't give you the Miranda rights. Miranda also applies only when the cops initiate the questioning, which means they start asking you questions. If they don't ask you anything and you just start talking on your own out of nervousness or stress, any statements you make can be used against you later on, even though they didn't give you the Miranda warning. As long as it's not the cops asking you questions, anything you say can be used against you in court. So, what are your Miranda rights? Number one, you have the right to remain silent and not make any statement at all, and any statement that you make may be used against you at your trial. Number two, any statement you make may be used against you in court. Number three, you have the right to have a lawyer present to advise you prior to and during any questioning. Number four, if you're unable to employ a lawyer, you have the right to have a lawyer appointed to advise you prior to and during any questioning. And number five, you have the right to terminate the interview at any time. And those are the actual Miranda warnings that cops have to give you before they can ask you any questions if they want to be able to use the answers against you in court. Any failure to give a Miranda warning before an interrogation begins can lead to any evidence collected during the interrogation to be inadmissible. And this includes statements or even the location of physical evidence. Also, just so you know, the police record everything that takes place inside the police car when you get arrested. So if you're sitting in the back of the police car, you can be sure you're being recorded. All right, so when do the police have to Mirandize you? Whether a cop is required to read you your Miranda rights depends on whether you're in custody. If you're not being detained by an officer and you voluntarily offer information, that officer doesn't have to give you your Miranda rights. And this is a common police tactic known as voluntary assistance. The police say they want to help clear things up. They want to clear your name or just get the full story or get your side of the story, sometimes they'll say. But in reality, it's just a clever ploy by the police to question you without having to read you your Miranda rights. So if you're not under arrest or being detained by the police, it's possible the cops are treating a conversation with you as voluntary assistance. In that case, the questions the officers pose don't require Miranda warnings. So you may think you're doing the right thing when you're actually putting yourself in serious legal jeopardy. Remember, you never have to talk to the police if you don't want to. All right, well, that's all I have concerning the Miranda rights. I hope this information was helpful to you. If it was, hit the like button for me. If not, tell me that too so I can make any needed changes. If you like getting videos on legal topics like this, you can also subscribe to my channel. I plan on making lots more videos on all sorts of legal topics in the future. You can also visit my website at andrewwilliamslaw.com. For now, this is Andrew Williams, the Fedora Lawyer, signing off.